Tonight, KFDM News is investigating complaints about the Postal Service. One business owner is telling us he's had problems sending and receiving mail for 2 years. KFDM's Lauren Huet has followed the story and questions about mail service for months. Lauren, tell us about the latest complaint.
Kelly, in March, we reported on the plight of several businesses on Laurel Street in Beaumont. Issues with the mail they said had gone on for months. Since our first story aired, the manager at one of those businesses tells me service has greatly improved. But the owner of HydroClean in Beaumont says it's a far different story for his company. Joey Hilliard owns HydroClean on Park Street in Beaumont. He says their problems sending and receiving mail are growing by the day and by the year.
We really noticed it probably about maybe 2 years ago, I think. You know, it just kind of started getting worse and worse. And it's not that our invoices don't clearly print out in a very, very nice font.
Just recently, staff at HydroClean began saving mail that's marked return to sender.
Letters that are addressed to some of our well-known customers, which are the hospitals, you're seeing that they're returned to sender no such address, when we know for a fact there is an address.
Leaving the HydroClean staff with no other choice but to resend the letter.
So then we have to take the invoice out, and we have to restamp it, and we have to resend it. And of course, we haven't changed anything, and it goes through.
It costs 48 cents every time Hilliard sends another letter.
We do the postmarks because that's supposed to speed up the delivery of the bills, and we get this back. So you're looking, there's 48 cents.
Sending it twice adds up to almost $1 a letter. He says as a small business owner, every penny counts.
You know, these are things that you don't budget. You say, okay, I'm going to spend $250 on postage, but then you end up spending $400 on postage. You know, so you're like, okay, so what gives? You know, whose hours do I cut? What supplier, what local supplier do I not use? So, it makes it hard.
Hard for a local business that does a lot of billing and relies on the Postal Service.
You know, number one is the checks. You know, number two is the invoicing. You know, we'll have to call when we're doing our accounts receivable, and there's people like, we never received your invoice. We never received your invoice. And we've even had 3 months later, we've had some of our bills come back that we've already had to fax or email to the customers to ensure payment.
Hilliard says they've contacted the post office and postmaster and tried just about everything else.
We stopped receiving our checks at the office because it was so unreliable. We turned to the post office box, and we're having problems with the post office box.
I think it's going to have a big effect on the mail service.
The president of the local postal workers union is worried about something else impacting a much larger customer base. The impending closure of the Walden Road Processing Center. The next closest center is in Houston.
They're closing 82 processing plants nationwide, and one of the 82s is the facility here on Walden Road.
Lynn Jenkins says this center on Walden Road once processed all of the mail for the Golden Triangle. Jenkins says that changed about 3 years ago.
Houston is processing all our mail, then it comes here and we do one part of the processing and then the carriers take it out.
She says if this processing plant closes, it will affect customer service.
This plant closed and you drop the letter inside the collection boxes. It'll get sent to Houston, it'll get processed in Houston, and then it'll come back here for delivery.
Jenkins also says the Postal Service here is short-staffed.
It's been a struggle every day, but we do the best we can.
She's worked for the post office 36 years.
It's been a few years since we were losing employees and they retire and the positions aren't filled again with outside help.
Now she's fighting to keep the Walden Road post office from closing.
It'll affect their customers receiving their medication. It'll affect people expecting checks.
Hilliard says the problems he's facing are pushing him online, but that costs money. While this customer is searching for answers, he's asking the Postal Service to deliver accountability.
You know, the same thing that's required of me with my company is accountability.
And deliver his mail. A spokeswoman for the Postal Service tells KFDM local postal management in Beaumont met with the customer in question and will continue working with them to resolve service issues. As for the processing center, she says we are taking a measured and deliberate approach to complete the consolidation of operations while maintaining customer service. To read the entire statement, log on to KFDM.com. Reporting live in the studio, Lauren Huet, 6 News Tonight.